The story of the affair. Our marriage was wholesome and true, pure and perfect. I knew this because of the tons of bad boyfriends and relationships that preceded it. But although my husband had never doubted he loved me and was happy with me, he always wondered if it was as good as he presumed it to be. He'd never had a relationship before to know if what we had was happy, normal, or indeed not as good as it should be. My husband had never fancied anyone before. He'd found girls attractive, but he'd never had a friendship with any other woman but me, and never got to know any woman he thought was good-looking. In short, both the opportunity had never arisen, and he'd never looked for it. When my husband first saw her, performing on stage, he fancied her. He found her sexy, liked her voice, and thought there was something intriguing about her. He chose not to share this with me, despite my concerns over him working with a woman, because he was very excited about the new work opportunity and never thought anything would happen between him and her anyway. He didn't think he was capable of being unfaithful. She, from what I can gather, fancied my husband straight away. She looked from his face to his wedding ring and was gutted that he was married. She made out later that bothered her, but evidently not enough. I don't consider her fancying my husband to be anything special or unusual because she had tried it on with the others at work. For a month, my husband and her went from being work acquaintances to being friends. He was relaxed with her. They had a laugh. He probably flirted, but not intentionally. She listened to him and was interested in him. He felt that when he spoke to me about music things, I was bored, where she was all ears, and they had music and work in common. She would text him about mundane everyday things, and he enjoyed it. Despite this, it felt no different to having a friendship with a man, and he did not want anything to happen between them. The night of February 28th, on the way home from work, she asked if she could sleep on his shoulder, and upon hearing that she always did it with the others, my husband naively agreed. While she slept, she touched his leg. He assumed she was asleep and left her to it. He felt slightly awkward. The next morning, March 1st, she began texting my husband at work. Firstly about everyday things as usual, but then started talking about sex and what she liked. My husband was shocked. I'd never spoken to him in quite such a vulgar way. But he did not tell her to stop. He assumed she was like this with everyone because of the way he had heard her talk openly about sex to the other workmates, and he knew she texted them too. By the afternoon, her phrasing had changed from wanting things to wanting him and wanting to do things to him. My husband was extremely flattered, turned on, and intrigued. He went along with her, but did not actively encourage her, though it may have not been taken that way because he did not ask her to stop or give her any impression he was not interested. By the following day, the texting was getting more vulgar and more serious, and my husband was more flattered and more intrigued. He began to feel curious about sex with someone other than me, and he fancied her a lot. He found her sexy and sexual, and the things she said to him turned him on. Around this time, he realized he had sent a lot of texts to her, and he wasn't sure what his text allowance was, so he gave her his email address instead. At this point, although he knew I would be angry if I found out what had been happening, he didn't feel like he'd betrayed me. The Wednesday morning brought from her a straightforward proposal. She told him she had an open marriage, and that she wanted no-string sex with my husband. She told him nobody need know, no harm would be done, and he believed her. She made it sound easy, and my husband agreed to it. In one respect, he wanted it, and wanted her. But he also felt things had gone too far already, and he worried about the consequences in their friendship, and at work, if he turned her down. He was convinced it would be a one-off and would satisfy his curiosity and lust for her. He did not spend much time thinking it through, but dived in feet first. On the way to her house, he wanted to turn around and not go through with it, but he thought she'd hate him. He went ahead with it. When he arrived at the house, it was unromantic, like a business arrangement. They went into the bedroom, undressed, and had sex. He felt uncomfortable, but must have enjoyed it as he managed to go all the way with no problem. When he left, he felt his first pang of guilt and did not want to do it again. That night, he woke in the night and couldn't sleep. He felt terrible. The next night, he had sex with me, and it felt better than it had with her. The emails again took on a more everyday feeling for a day or so, but before the weekend came, she had started to talk about doing it again, and the guilt my husband felt had faded away. He knew it was what she wanted, almost what she expected. He was flattered by her wanting him, but he also felt she was relying on him. He felt he could not say no. The following Monday night, my husband went to her house after work, before training, and had sex with her again. His feelings for her at this point was mainly a close friendship, but with a sexual attraction. The sex in itself was not the best, but he found it exciting. He loved how she wanted him. Over the following 2 weeks, he continued to sleep with her, but once or twice he could not perform through the guilt he felt. He hoped, above all, that things would fizzle out. He was starting to get stressed about what he was doing, and our relationship had started to suffer. But as time passed, he looked forward to time with her, and he missed her when she was unable to email. They started to spend alone together at work, groping and kissing, etc., though it was always initiated by her. She confided in him, telling him about a troubled childhood and painful things that had happened to her. She said she was trapped in an unhappy marriage. He felt sorry for her and liked that he was making her feel better. The arrangement she had with her husband was for her to have sex with my husband. The arrangement was that her husband would be in the house. He got a thrill from it. Emails exchanged between her and my husband were monitored closely by her husband, so they were kept platonic or sexual. Despite this arrangement, both she and my husband began to develop feelings, but while she was primarily interested in sex, he enjoyed her company most. He had something new with her, a friendship and connection that felt wonderful. She was into him, and he felt like he had something of his own that he was in control of. As they worked together 3 nights a week, it was those times that the affair became emotional and intense. It was there that things took a different turn. Approximately 12 days before D-Day, she told my husband she had fallen for him, and he said he had for her too. At the time, he felt he had to say it back, although he wasn't really sure how he felt. He knew his feelings for her were growing, and that he loved her company. He also knew he loved me, and could not imagine a life without me. He was confused. He began to question his feelings for me because of the way he was feeling about her. My husband did not believe a person could love 2 people at the same time. A week on, 5 days prior to D-Day, the affair changed in its intensity, and she began saying things like, "I want us to be together," and "I can't wait to be with you." But also things like, "I can't wait until I can show you